Okay, let's just dive right into this. When the International Energy Agency calls something, and I quote, the greatest global energy security challenge in history, yeah, you know we're dealing with a massive paradigm shift. The 2026 Iran war didn't just redraw geopolitical lines on a map. No, it triggered an absolute unprecedented economic stress test for the entire planet. We are literally talking about a shockwave that started in the Middle East and just smashed directly into your household budget, your retirement portfolio, and even the aisles at your local grocery store. Now, here's a number for you. 20%. It's a staggering figure, right? That is the exact percentage of the world's entire petroleum consumption that gets bottlenecked through one single narrow little stretch of water, the Strait of Hormuz. When things kick off there, boom, 1/5 of the global energy supply is instantly on the chopping block. It really exposes this terrifying vulnerability in our super connected modern world. So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down the massive geopolitical earthquake of the 2026 Iran war. But we're going to translate it into the microeconomic realities that actually hit your daily life. We're getting way past the front page headlines to see exactly how a localized maritime blockade creates this crazy domino effect that reaches right into your wallet. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start off at the Strait of Hormuz choke point, examine the global energy shock, then uncover the hidden commodities and supply chain collapse. After that, we'll check out financial markets and the dollar, and wrap up with the looming global recession. All right, part 1, the Strait of Hormuz choke point. Just look at how blazingly fast this whole thing went down. February 28th, the conflict spikes with U.S.-Israeli strikes and immediate Iranian pushback. By March 2nd, Qatari gas facilities are under attack. Literally 2 days later, March 4th, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively slammed shut, and Qatar has to declare force majeure on their exports. Then, March 18th, the massive Ras Laffan LNG complex gets hit. The sheer speed here, it completely blindsided global markets. It turned a regional military conflict into a worldwide economic emergency basically overnight. Which brings us to part 2, the global energy shock. The immediate market reaction, absolutely brutal. Brent crude oil didn't just tick up, it went ballistic, rocketing from around $72 a barrel to well over 120. Over in Europe, their natural gas benchmark nearly doubled, shooting past 60 euros per megawatt hour. If you're wondering what that actually meant for, normal people, it meant gas prices in the US blew right past that painful $4 a gallon mark almost instantly. The basic cost to move anything, anywhere on Earth, just exploded. And natural gas specifically turned into a total nightmare scenario. See, Qatar alone pumps out 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas. So when that Ras Laffan complex got hit on March 18th, it instantly wiped out 17% of Qatar's entire production capacity. For countries over in Asia and Europe that basically rely on Qatari gas to keep their lights on, this wasn't just a hiccup. It was a catastrophic blow to their power grids. And man, the skies cleared out fast. We saw over 4,000 daily flights just vaporize from the schedule as Middle Eastern airspace locked down. Jet fuel prices doubled as kerosene dried up. Global aviation practically ground to a complete halt in that region. It stranded hundreds of thousands of travelers and sent these massive, rippling shockwaves right through the global tourism and logistics industries. Okay, let's move into part 3, commodities and supply chain collapse. Now, I want to walk you through this crazy domino effect because this is where it gets really interesting. Step 1, the Gulf totally halts its exports of sulfur and LNG. So why does that mess with your food? Well, step 2, LNG is a massive core ingredient for nitrogen fertilizers, and sulfur is absolutely key for phosphates. Without them, global fertilizer production just stalls out and prices spike by 40%. Which leads right to step 3. Farmers have to pass those insane costs on, crop yields drop, and global food prices surge. It's honestly kind of mind-blowing that an energy blockade in the Gulf literally caused a grocery supply emergency and jacked up supermarket bills everywhere. But, okay, what was the most unexpected victim in all of this? Helium. Yeah, helium. We usually just think of it for like squeaky voices or party balloons, but helium is absolutely crucial for modern tech. It's actually a byproduct of refining natural gas, and its supercooling properties, they are literally required for the superconducting magnets inside hospital MRI machines, not to mention making the silicone wafers that go into all our computer chips. Because Qatar controls a massive 35% of global helium production, the supply shock was instantaneous. Prices leaped from around $300 to an absolutely wild $900 per 1,000 cubic feet. Think about that. Suddenly, a military conflict in the Middle East is directly threatening the entire global healthcare system and the tech industry's ability to even make semiconductors. It really just hits the nail on the head of how beautifully and dangerously interconnected this global economy actually is. Next up, Part 4, Financial Markets and the Dollar. Now here is a super counterintuitive question for you. Why on earth did the US dollar surge while global equity markets were basically crashing and burning? When a war kicks off and supply chains snap, you'd probably expect everyone to just panic. But in the finance world, panic usually triggers a massive rush to safety. Let's break down the analysis from the financial researchers over at Investorian. They mapped out 3 potential scenarios for the dollar. First, in a quick ceasefire, the dollar surge just kind of fades back to normal. But scenario 2, a prolonged but contained conflict, the dollar actually stays incredibly firm. Why? Because the US has this huge buffer. It exports more energy than it imports, so a massive oil shock hits Europe and emerging markets way harder than America, pushing investors straight into the safety of the US dollar. But their third scenario is the scary one, full escalation, meaning oil blasts past $150 a barrel, risks triggering global stagflation. And even the mighty dollar isn't totally immune to that, because high inflation eventually forces up domestic mortgage rates and drags down the whole economy. And the fallout for markets outside the US? Just immediate devastation. South Korea's Kospi index plunged 12%, literally tripping market circuit breakers. Pakistan's KSE 100, it lost nearly 10% in a single day. This vicious combo of a super strong dollar and soaring energy costs acted like a 1-2 punch that just wiped out billions of dollars in wealth overnight for emerging economies. Finally, Part 5, the looming global recession. We're not taking any political sides here at all. We are simply looking at the staggering universal economic pain that just washed across the globe. The UN estimated that Arab nations faced a massive GDP loss, somewhere between $120 and $194 billion. Over in Europe, the UK was staring down the barrel of inflation breaching 5%, while huge industrial powerhouses like Germany and Italy were facing a super high risk of technical recession just from the energy crunch. Meanwhile, India took a massive hit as an enormous exodus of its workers from the Gulf caused a severe drop in those crucial remittance payments. The pain really was felt on every single corner of the map. But maybe one of the most profound, long-lasting impacts here is actually sociological. For literally decades, the Gulf region successfully pitched itself as this permanently stable, incredibly secure safe haven for global expats, top talent, and tourists. Well, this crisis deeply fractured that whole narrative. The massive evacuations and the sheer exodus of skilled professionals really exposed a hidden fragility, and that's something that will almost certainly force a total reassessment of the region's entire economic model going forward. So what does this all mean for us? We've spent decades building this incredibly optimized, hyper-efficient global supply chain. It gives us cheap goods, fast tech, the works. But as we just saw, the whole shebang basically bottlenecked at one single maritime strait. It leaves us with a really provocative question to wrap up on today. If a single geographic choke point can literally ground flights, spike your grocery bills, halt global fertilizer production, and push the world to the brink of a recession, is our hyper-interconnected world simply too fragile to survive the next major crisis? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped untangle the crazy web of this economic shock. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.